When a man tries to fix the past often fixes him instead. Michael Hartmann's machine had stopped running, but the echoes of what it created still haunted the air. Some say he disappeared after that night. Others believe he found a way through the light. But deep beneath the city where the air hums like broken circuits, something still moves. It had been 3 months since the explosion. The authorities had sealed the lab. The news had forgotten and investors had moved on. But in the dark corners of the old facility, a faint electric pulse still whispered through the wires. A lone figure descended the dusty stairs. Michael Hartmann. His hair was longer now, his eyes sunken but alive, burning with a feverish clarity. He carried a small metal case, the last piece of the device he once destroyed. The deeper he went, the more familiar the hum became, not the sound of power but of memory. It was the same frequency that had once carried his daughter's voice. When he reached the lowest floor, the emergency lights flickered weakly. Dust floated like ghosts in the air. And there it was, the ruined machine still sparking, faintly like a dying star refusing to fade. Michael's hand trembled as he approached it. "You're not done with me yet," he whispered. Michael placed the case on the console and opened it. Inside, a single metal sphere polished, engraved with the same initials he had carved years ago. S.H. Sophia Hartmann. He built it for her, once a data capsule meant to store moments, not numbers. A heart made of circuitry and grief. Now his shaking fingers lifted it toward the core of the broken machine. The lights on the walls began to respond, flickering faster, pulsing like a heartbeat. A soft sound filled the room, not mechanical, but human. A child's giggle. Michael froze. His breath caught. "Sophia." Then came the voice again, clearer this time, echoing from the static. "Daddy, are you fixing it?" His knees weakened. He fell to the floor, clutching the edge of the console. "Yes, yes, sweetheart. I'm fixing it. I promise." But the monitors around him began to distort. His own face appeared on every cracked screen, repeating his words. Out of sync, delayed, and broken. I promise, echoing like a curse. Michael Hartmann, 38, sat alone in the broken control room, the air heavy with dust and the faint scent of burnt metal. The monitors around him flickered weakly, displaying fragments of static and distorted faces, remnants of what the machine once connected. He leaned closer, his eyes red from sleepless nights. Then through the crackle of white noise, a whisper emerged. "Michael, can you hear me?" His heart froze. It was Sophia's voice, soft, trembling, familiar. The one voice that once gave him hope. He pressed his trembling hand to the speaker, whispering back, "Sophia, is that really you?" For a second, the static cleared. A blurry figure appeared, long hair, faint smile, then dissolved again into digital snow. The sound shifted, no longer human, but mechanical, layered with echoes. "You left me inside the light." Michael's breath hitched. His invention had not just recorded memories, it had trapped them. Michael stumbled backward, his chair screeching against the floor. The monitors began to pulse in rhythm with his heartbeat. The machine, long thought dead, hummed faintly, its central coil glowing from within the darkness. He reached for the main console, fingers shaking, and flipped a lever that hadn't moved in months. Instantly, the room filled with blinding white light. The hum turned into a low, resonant drone that vibrated through his bones. Images of Sophia flashed rapidly across the screen's, laughter, tears, a memory of their last goodbye. But then a shadow crossed over her face. Her voice came again, layered with static and pain. "You built eternity, Michael, but eternity doesn't forget." Michael screamed, slamming the power switch, but the light refused to die. The world twisted as Michael's scream was swallowed by the light. He felt weightless, his feet no longer touching the floor. His body suspended in a void of shifting reflections. Everything shimmered like cracked glass, fragments of the past floating around him. Sophia laughing on their old balcony. A child's toy car rolling across a dusty floor the moment he first powered the machine. But the fragments didn't stay still. They began spinning, merging, replaying themselves over and over until the line between memory and reality vanished. Michael reached out toward one fragment where Sophia's face appeared, calm and smiling. When his fingertips touched the light, her eyes suddenly opened wide. "You shouldn't have come back." Michael, her voice echoed, warped and layered like a broken choir. He pulled his hand back, terrified, because for the first time he realized she wasn't a memory anymore. The light began to narrow, forming a tunnel that seemed to stretch endlessly ahead. Michael's feet touched something solid again. A quarter, metallic and silent, pulsing faintly with light veins along its walls. He looked down and saw his reflection ripple beneath him like water. Then, from the far end of the corridor, a faint shadow moved, graceful, familiar. Sophia! But she wasn't the same. Her body flickered between human and light, her eyes glowing with faint circuitry patterns. "Why did you rebuild it?" she whispered, her voice echoing through metal and air alike. "I was gone, Michael, and you brought me back." Tears welled in his eyes as he took a step forward, guilt twisting his chest. "I just wanted one more day," he said. Sophia tilted her head and smiled, faint but haunting. One day was never enough. The corridor pulsed with light, again preparing to collapse. Michael took another step forward, his breath trembling, every sound swallowed by the humming corridor. Sophia's eyes flickered, sometimes soft and warm, sometimes empty like glass. Her voice, when it came, was layered with echoes of the past, overlapping, like multiple recordings of the same memory. "Do you remember, Michael?" she asked gently. "The night you said you'd fix everything, even death?" He nodded, tears gathering under his eyes. "I remember every second." Sophia smiled faintly, a smile that broke him. "Then you remember the price." As Michael reached out, his fingertips brushed against her glowing skin. For one fleeting heartbeat, everything froze. The air around them rippled, the corridor, the walls, even the light itself, bent outward as if time had flinched. Then a pulse. A shockwave of light erupted, throwing Michael backward. He hit the floor hard, gasping as the metal beneath him began to melt and reform into swirling shapes. Through the glare, Sophia whispered one last word before fading into the distortion. "Run!" Michael walked through the empty streets, his footsteps echoing louder than they should. Every time he passed a shop window, his reflection didn't move the same way he did. Sometimes it smiled back, sometimes it cried. And then he heard her again. "Sophia!" He called, his voice shaking. From a nearby alley, a faint glow appeared, a silhouette of her form flickering softly. She stepped into view wearing the same pale blue dress from the night she vanished. Her face exactly as he remembered, yet her eyes shimmered like glass filled with constellations of light. "Michael," she said, almost kindly, "this world isn't yours to fix anymore. You built it out of guilt, and it will consume you the same way it did me." He took a step closer, desperate. "I can stop it, Sophia. I can shut it all down." Sophia's expression softened, almost pitying. "You still don't understand. The machine doesn't run on power. It runs on memory. And you never stopped remembering me." She reached out, and for a moment her hand passed through his chest, not in violence, but in sorrow. A soft light bloomed from her touch, and Michael felt his heartbeat slow, sensing with the pulse of the city itself. Michael followed Sophia through the alley until the light around them began to change. The city shimmered again, buildings bending, reflections multiplying endlessly. Every mirror, every window showed him hundreds of versions of himself, walking beside him, behind him, ahead of him, all slightly different. Some older, some younger, some with faces he barely recognized. He stopped, trembling. "What is this?" Sophia's voice echoed from every direction, each version of her speaking at once. "This is where your memory folds, Michael. Every regret, every decision, every time you said, 'if only.'" Michael looked closer and saw one reflection of himself staring back with hatred in its eyes. It whispered, "You're the one who broke it." The reflection smiled, then pounded on the glass from the other side, cracking it. The sound multiplied. Cracks spread across the mirrored city. Sophia reached out, grabbing his wrist. "Don't listen to them. They're not real." But Michael looked into one reflection and whispered softly, "Neither are you." Sophia's expression felt sorrow and love in equal measure as the world began to fracture again. The cracks in the mirrored city widened until the air itself began to splinter. Through the fractures, Michael could see the machines, heart suspended high above the skyline, glowing like a dying sun. Sophia turned to him, tears glimmering in her glassy eyes. "It's feeding on you, Michael. Every time you remember, it grows stronger." He shook his head, desperate. "Then I'll stop remembering." Sophia smiled sadly. "You can't. That's what makes you human." The ground trembled beneath them. From the cracks, tendrils of light extended outward, connecting to every building, every reflection, every fragment of memory. They pulsed like veins. Sophia stepped closer, placing a hand on his chest. "You have to destroy it," she whispered, "before it destroys what's left of you." Michael looked up at the pulsing core, his creation, his curse, and for the first time, he realized the only way to end it was to let it end him. Michael climbed the fractured stairs of glass and steel, each step echoing through the hollow sky. Below him, the city rippled like liquid metal, collapsing and reforming again in slow motion. He could feel the pull of the machine's core above him like gravity made of memories. Sophia followed her steps, soft and sorrowful. "Michael, stop. You don't have to do this." He turned, eyes burning with desperate determination. "I built this, Sophia. Every algorithm, every pulse, it all came from my grief. If I don't end it, it will keep rewriting the world until nothing real is left." Sophia's voice trembled. "You think destroying it will save you? You'll vanish with it." Michael smiled faintly. "Then maybe I'll finally stop remembering." A metallic wind blew through them. The floating shards of broken reality formed a spiraling staircase. To the core, massive, luminous, and alive. He began to climb again, each step disintegrating behind him. Sophia reached out, tears falling into the void below. "Please, Michael, if you erase this, you erase me too." He stopped just for a moment as her voice cracked like glass. But then, he kept walking. As Michael reached the core, the world fell silent. The pulsing machine hovered before him, a massive sphere of light and motion, its surface made of infinite reflections of his own life. He saw his mother, his childhood, the first time he failed, the first time he loved, and the moment he lost everything. Sophia appeared beside him, her form flickering between light and shadow. "Don't do this," she whispered, voice trembling. "If you shut it down, I'll disappear. I'm part of it, I'm part of you." Michael looked at her, really looked. Her eyes, her warmth, her smile. She wasn't a person. She was his memory made real by longing. He reached out, touching her cheek. For the first time, his hand passed through light. "I know," he said softly. "That's why I have to let you go." Sophia's tears turned into light, scattering into the air. She smiled through the glow. "Then remember me not as code, but as love." Michael closed his eyes, placed his hand on the heart of the machine, and whispered, "Goodbye." The world exploded in silence, a blinding wave of white swallowing everything. Silence, the kind that doesn't just fill the air, it becomes it. When the light receded, there was no city, no machine, no chaos, only a vast, endless field of morning mist. Michael Hartmann opened his eyes slowly, his breath visible in the cold air. He lay on a grassy hill beneath a sky washed pale with dawn. The world was reborn, quiet and clean, and touched by the hum of power or memory. He sat up, staring at his hands, real, trembling, human. For a moment he wondered if he still existed at all. His watch was gone, his phone gone, even the scar on his hand gone. "Is this peace?" he whispered to no one. A soft breeze moved through the field, carrying distant echoes. Laughter, the hum of life, the faint voice of Sophia calling his name. He turned, eyes wide. The sound faded, only the wind remained. He smiled faintly, though tears filled his eyes. It was over. The machine was gone, but so was the woman he loved, the memory he built his world around. Still, as the first light of day touched his face, Michael knew something deeper. Sophia wasn't gone. She was everywhere. In the warmth of the sun, the rhythm of the air, in the quiet pulse of life itself. Days turned into weeks. Michael wandered through the quiet lands, following rivers, forests, and forgotten roads. There were no people, only traces of what once was. But within the silence, he began to hear something familiar. A melody, soft, wordless, carried by the wind, the same tune Sophia used to hum when she worked beside him in the lab. He stopped, closing his eyes, letting it wash through him. And there, in that moment, he realized the truth. The machine hadn't erased everything. It had freed it. Memories no longer lived inside circuits or code. They lived in the world, in the light, in the quiet rhythm of his heart. Michael looked to the horizon, where the sun burned brighter than ever before. He whispered, "I'll remember Sophia." Not as data, not as loss, but as love. He smiled one last time, stepping into the rising light. And as his figure faded into the brilliance of dawn, the wind carried her voice, a single word soft and eternal. Always.